Okay, awesome. It's gonna get logged in for me. Apparently I have a dinosaur over here.
I'm gonna turn off some lights too.
And, you can't hear me, huh?
Here, I got the sound. Go ahead.
Okay, alright, I'll go up a little bit. Alright, let's see how about that. Is that better? Okay, alright. And then Patrick, are we just clicking on one side and then just keep on going?
Just click.
Oh, okay, cool, perfect. We'll do that. Alright, we got some lights. Alright, everybody can see pretty good. So, as you guys know, I have been in Kaunas, Lithuania. I did spend the month there, minus about 5 days. It got delayed from the hurricane, unfortunately, so my flight got delayed. But I did get a chance to spend a good amount of time there. I wanted to thank everyone, every single member of this congregation, the church itself, the people that gave individually. You guys are amazing. I have nothing much personally. I know Patrick made a big deal about like blessed are the few those. Okay, I do feel blessed. And I also feel blessed by you guys. This is not my work. This is not the work of the Reformatus Church. This is not the work of Lithuania. This is the work of the Lord. This is strictly just the Lord's doing, and I wholeheartedly thank every single one of you who recognized what God was doing through me and through everybody else that's there. Frank and Emily, everybody. So thank you guys. I went in with a couple of ideas. Specifically, I went in with humility. I realized this is something that Frank and Emily have been working on for many, many years. I'm not going to reinvent the wheel. I don't need to. I just need to go and see how I can be used and useful and a blessing to the people that are in that area. So I definitely was thinking about 1 Peter 5:5, clothe yourselves, all of you, with humility towards one another. And then I was also thinking about servanthood. That was the second thing. Paul's ministry was not alone. He was not an island. He had Silas, he had Barnabas, he had Timothy, he had Apollos. So he was not the singular hero that you think of in ministry. And you're like, oh, these missionaries, and they just sacrifice them. Yeah, there's a lot of people behind them. Supportive, being helpful, and doing a lot of the stuff that just doesn't get seen on a daily basis. That goes into the roles. What your role is and what my role was over there. That was roles in the body of Christ is what I see that as part of the body. So 1 Corinthians 3, 6, and 8. I have planted the seed. This is Paul talking, right? So he's talking about all these wonderful things that he has done over the years in the churches that he's planted. We think of Paul as an icon. Well, what does he say? He says, I have planted the seed. Apollos watered it. But God has been making it grow. So neither the one who plants, talking about himself, nor the one who waters, any of the other people, are anything, but only God who makes them grow. And of course, he's not talking about a real garden. He's talking about people and putting that seed in their heart for the gospel. So the one who plants and the one who waters have one purpose, and they will each be rewarded according to their own labor. That's straight out of the gospel right there. All right, in keeping with that humility, this is Frank and I, and we are doing some cooking and baking. There was so much baking. Oh my goodness. But the reason for that is there's constantly a Bible study, a ladies group, a college group, a church group that was either meeting at the house or nearby or something that they were hosting. We had ladies over all the time that were looking for counsel, and what do you feed them? Right? So you always have something baked, hopefully, for the people that are just showing up at your door. This is Frank and Emily's house here. They have a lovely apartment that looks over what they call the Weiss Bisalea. I'll show you a picture of that later. But this is Frank and I having a great old time baking. And quite frankly, I think that one's banana bread. So one of the many humble ways of just how can I be of help to you? And a lot of that did involve little things like that. This is the church, the outside of the building, the Kaunas Evangelical Reformatus Church. Basically, it's like saying Bartow ARP Church, but it's the one in Kaunas. That is the city in Lithuania. It is one of the very biggest southern cities. It's the second largest city in Lithuania. The church itself has been very, very misused. Not by the congregation, but as soon as this church was built, and about 2 weeks after they finished the building of this church, it was taken over by the Soviets. The Soviets then used this building, as you can see on the right. I actually got a laser pointer here. Yeah. Right here. This is a line that is drawn for for a basketball gymnasium. They literally used this church and the sanctuary of this church as a gymnasium. So it was very, very abused. This staircase right here does lead to the front door. There's a room in here that is going to be used in the winter time for them. And up the stairs is the sanctuary. This is actually the floor of the sanctuary. So this here is another picture of that room that they use for the summertime, right over here. And you can see it's a little bit warmer looking. It's insulated walls, things like that. They've got carpet down now. They've only had this building for 4 years in their possession and capable of actually doing anything to it. The reason it looks so rough is because the government finally did get it back over to them 4 years ago after the occupation ended. It was actually used for all sorts of other things by governmental agencies, and they've done quite a bit actually in the 4 years they've had it, but it's very limited on what they can do and the resources they have for it, the manpower, that kind of thing. This is the kitchen that they use. This is where they're doing a lot of their dishes and stuff, and you see our kitchens in here, how fabulous that is. And they actually operate all the Bible study food and clean up out of that sink. This is the sanctuary here. So you can actually see this is a baptism that we had there. It was a family that was familiar with the church and really wanted to have Frank baptize their son. He's older at this point, but this is a very full church for them. This is almost 40 people. There was, I believe 36 people in attendance of this baptism, and that's about the fullest I have seen it, and kind of a record for them. But as you can see, there would have been here a backboard for a basketball hoop that they took down. And you see the wear just on the walls. Every single one of these, there's the line, the floor, the half court, everything. So that is actually the church that they do meet in. This is Frank doing a children's sermon. He took time out of every single service to make sure that there was something directed just specifically for kids, and had a lot of fun coming up with different ideas throughout the course of the time there on fun children's services. I think this one was about black soap. This is the downstairs building. So it's much warmer here, so they moved down here in the winter. Also, one thing I failed to mention, this service here is going to be in Lithuanian. So the morning service that they have, that is all in Lithuanian, and then you've got a translated version of it in paper format for those of us that couldn't speak it. He was nice enough to make a translation for us. And there's someone translating there as well. So you could read the music and in English, and then you also heard it translated. He worked tirelessly with a translator, and the fun part, an amazing to me part, was that sometimes the translators weren't even Christians. Sometimes they weren't even members of the church. But they're actually translating a Christian church service, and happy to do so. And so what kind of cool ministry is that? You got people translating for you that are teaching others about the gospel that don't believe it yet themselves. And he's actually had several people come to the Lord because of that. This service is the evening service. This is Sunday evening and Wednesday night. We have the same group on Wednesday night for the most part. This is, again, downstairs, much more cozy. I wanted to point out these two guys right here. So it doesn't look like much of anything to us other than just two friends hanging out, coming to church. But the amazing thing here is one of these gentlemen is Russian. The other one is Ukrainian. They come together. They're best friends now. They ride the bus together from a very long way away to get to this church service on Sundays and Wednesdays. The Russian is more fluent in English than the Ukrainian. So the Russian is actually translating the English for his Ukrainian friend. They both work a lot, kind of on the down low for a lot of things going on at the border. And just as a reminder that yes, Lithuania does in fact border Russia, Belarus, Poland, and Estonia, just on the other side of Ukraine. So this here we have Danis and Rita. They are married. The reason their last names are a little different is that's just a Lithuanian culture thing. When you get married, you get to change your name to like a feminine version of equaling a Mrs. And so they are actually married, but yes, different last names, and that is very common over there. Every woman that's married over there gets to change her name to that final ending, and it's very much a status thing. However, this is a wonderful, wonderful couple. As you can see here, Danis is actually preaching next to Frank, and Frank has been working with him tirelessly, raising him up to be the next pastor of the church. Frank is looking at retirement. Frank is not going to do this until he's 80 years old. So they are looking to retire. They are looking to end somewhere around 70, which is about 4 years away for them. And so he's raising up hopefully a new generation. They are a wonderful couple, absolutely wonderful couple, and just love the Lord, love the church, love their culture, and love their people. And so I can definitely see that being a really good fit later on. This is one of the ladies' Bible studies, and every single one of these ladies, for the most part, showed up every week at Frank and Emily's house here. And we sit around just like it is here. We just sit around a little coffee table and go through about 2 pages of material that Emily comes up with for typically just a couple of verses even. They were going through the 10 Commandments and why those 10 Commandments mattered. And so they got quite deep. I have some of my notes up here on the table if you want to take a look at them. But every single one of these ladies, for the most part, came every single week. Of course, we've got Emily here, myself. This is Rita from that earlier photo. And then this is Ina. You'll see her again later too. She is a music minister of that church, so she helps out doing the piano and a bunch of the things. She's also the secretary. One of the ladies that I definitely ended up having lots of deep, good conversations with, this is Deidre. And Deidre is one of the members of the church. She has a very young daughter, and we talked at length. Definitely something to pray for. She has got some health issues, potential cancer, and so that would be something for y'all to pray for. We're kind of waiting around to hear what happens with that. This is Alana and again Rita. Alana is in the middle in the yellow shirt, and she is a native-born Lithuanian speaker. She is one of the divorcees. Met with her and was thankfully able to get Rita to actually translate for us, because most of the women that you talk to that are about under 40 do speak English. So that was wonderful. But if they're open to that, it's kind of a challenge. You end up doing it on Google Voice Translator or something like that. And so thankfully Rita was able to meet with us, and we met for about 4 hours, about one time only. And it's wonderful to see the look on people's faces when they realize that the Lord still loves them. Even though you've broken the rules of the church, even though the church is not to do this. Now, mind you, most all these people were raised Catholic. So now you've really broken the rules. You're Catholic, okay? You can't even get into heaven if you've broken the rules of the church, right? That's some different mentality than we have as a Reformed church. Believing in grace, not having to go through some other thing, just going through the Lord and Jesus. So to have her realize that the Lord does in fact love her regardless of what has happened to her in her life, it was really, really amazing to see. And it was a response that I got frequently. So this is a picture that I don't mind showing you. She wanted to take this picture, so I felt comfortable sharing it with you. But there are so many other women, same type of response. Just the moment that they understood, despite everything that has gone on in your life, if the Lord still loves you, it was almost instant tears. So it meant something to them on a deep, deep and abiding level, just to have someone tell them that. There was another little ministry that I did. Frank and I call it ice cream evangelism. We came up with that on the fly. There's a sweet little teenage girl, I think she's all about 17 years old, that constantly ran the ice cream stand just underneath Frank and Emily's apartment, which you can actually see in this photo right there. So when I say just underneath it, we walked by it all the time. And both Frank and I have an addiction to ice cream. So therefore, we're talking to this little girl constantly, and I got a chance to meet her and actually interact with her and started asking her about her day and who's this guy gonna questions about why I'm there. It gives me the opportunity to say I'm here for a church. I'm helping out in the local area. We're meeting on Wednesday. You want to come out if you have nothing to do? Kind of thing. So you stop every day and you get ice cream, but it serves a double purpose. So that sweet little girl, again, underage, not going to share her picture, but she always served me this lovely, delicious ice cream, which was shocking to me that that right there is only like €1.50. How cheap. It'd be $1.75, if that. Yeah. And her name is Ice-T. So you can pray for her. She is not a believer still, but definitely open to talking to me, and would ask to have me come by every day, and would ask for me to think about her. And I said, well, does that mean I can pray for you? And okay, so pray for Ice-T. This is the Lake de Solea. This is a walking street. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous. This runs a length of somewhere in the realm of 2-3 miles. And up both sides of it are these buildings, shops, apartments, places to hang out, eat. You see the ladies here eating ice cream as well. That is a very popular thing there. And so it was very easy for me to meet with women. They loved the weather. They couldn't believe this warm weather they were having. It was so unseasonable. Oh, you brought it from Florida. Thank you so much. I was cooking still. But it made it really, really easy to actually visit with the women there because it was so lovely out. They would be happy to meet me at one of these little places and talk. Whereas in the dead of winter or something like that, it might have made it a little bit harder to actually meet with people that are a little bit more closed off than the regular southerner. So to meet up with a stranger at one of these little places and sit down and have a cup of coffee really led to a lot of neat conversations for sure. So this church here is in a different town. This one is about 45 minutes to an hour north, and this is in the city of Kaunas. Kaunas, this church here, was built and was used during the Scottish Reformation. So this church was actually housing people that were running and fleeing from Mary Queen of Scots. It is that old. I've never really had an emotional connection with a building before until I walked in there and went, oh my word. You register on that kind of level how old the church is and how old our Reformed church really is. This is a Reformed church, and it's one of the originals. And that to me was just really kind of cool. The downside of this though, just like a lot of the churches there, they all have their own issues. Whereas the church in Kaunas is just run down, this one's beautiful. The government took this over. They've been using it for concerts and other things, but they renovated it. Lovely, it's wonderful, except the fact that they only have one church service a month. The pastor there doesn't really feel like there's enough of a congregation, doesn't really want to put in the effort to build one, so we'll just do one service a month. So it's really unfortunate to see a building this beautiful that was this old, and I mean when I say old, founded in 1557. They completed the building in 1652. Such a rich history, and all it needs is a little bit of life and a little bit of people to go, yeah, let's do some more stuff here. Let's put in some more programs here. Let's actually do some more here. So, I saw that building, I'm like, wow, that's gorgeous, and I felt really convicted. You know, the Bible passage that talks about the house of the Lord is in ruins. How am I to go and live in my palace if the house of the Lord is in ruins? That kept running through my head. And I've been begging to do something to the church building. Well, finally, last week, he conceded. I said, okay, awesome. I'm going to do windowsills because these things are terrible. It's Soviet era paint. You know that had lead in it. And it was cracked and flaked and just everywhere. So, one of the college students from the Sunday night church, there are two different congregations there, the Sunday night church, this is Selma, and Selma had been in the country for 2 weeks. So if you're wondering if this church has any impact at all, clearly it does. Even just from this interaction here, it's pretty evident. She was like, hey, what you doing? I said, well, I'm going to go to the church later and work on this. She's like, can I come? I don't know. Absolutely. Sure, I'll teach you how to scrape and putty, and sure. So she's going to college there in Kaunas. Kaunas has actually one of the best college and university communities in the Baltics and in Europe. I had no idea. These people are coming from all over the place. I was dumbfounded. She is from Holland and Ghana. One of her parents is Dutch, the other one is from Ghana. And she has lived in both places, speaks English fluently because of that, and loved going to the church and loved helping us and showing up in the Bible studies, and instantly just kind of clicked right on into the group. So it's something that's very, very easy to see how this could grow and develop. But here we are working on those windowsills. And finished windowsills! We are so excited. This was a week-long project. There are 8 windows in that particular part of the building that we actually scraped all of it off, leveled it, and then repainted and all that. So we left in with pretty windowsills. They are used to living with the old. Why did I feel the need to repaint it? To me, it was burdensome on my heart to improve the church, but they didn't because they're used to living with old buildings. These buildings are from the Soviet era. A lot of it's that Soviet concrete that just crumbles. So they're used to a combination of the old and the new, and they live with it every day. They don't notice too much of it. They see a safety enough to be able to send their kids to college and build dreams and businesses and things like that. However, they recognize too that they're also on the border of Belarus and Russia. They don't know. They recognize that the section of Lithuania that they happen to live in can be crossed in 3 hours by tank between Russia and Belarus. And they are very well aware of that. But again, they go out, they go boating, they go to college, they learn, they grow, they build families. They also have an amazing opportunity because of all the education there. They all speak English, they can work just about anywhere. But they have a very limited income in Lithuania. It's shocking. Most of the people can live on somewhere between 15 to 60,000. The 60,000 is like the doctors and lawyers. So it's a very, very limited income place, but they make it work, and they're good for just about anything. It also makes it very cheap to provide for, send missionaries, and actually provide for the pastors and stuff there too. That leaves us, what can I do? Pray for these ministries. They've got a lot of ministries. They are looking to do like a mental health, or even possibly do some form of recovery. There's alcoholism, there's depression, there's lots of things, just like there would be here. But each of these women have their own burdens in their heart. Where I'm sitting here meeting with women, Frank is also meeting with a bunch of men. He has another group of men that meet on the same days. So there is actually ministries going on that you can totally pray for this church to continue it to grow. Let people be led to the Lord. There's people that show up here to these Bible studies, even in this picture, that don't know the Lord, but they're showing up to the Bible study because they're curious. They want to know more about it, but they haven't quite figured it out yet. So pray that the Lord opens up their minds and their hearts. This is Dana's and Rita's 2 children right here. They are studying for confirmation for the church. They're going to be their newest members of that church. And that church is small. They've got probably 26 members that show up on a given Sunday. And about 30, 32 maybe for the Sunday evening service. So these 2 are going to be the newest members of that Reformatus church. Danis is the one that is going to be preparing to be the local pastor after Frank. He has already taken a good portion of his exams and everything. In fact, the week that I left, he was going to be doing what they require of him was a sermon in English. And he is a native Lithuanian speaker. And so I know that was a major challenge for him. But I think he did fine. So he is almost through that process of the full thing. So again, you can pray for Danis. You can pray for Rita as they know that this is coming. The downside is Danis right now is a businessman. He makes a great living. He does really well. Rita ended up just as I got there, actually losing her job, and I told her, the Lord's gonna provide for you. I know He will. Just keep trusting in Him. She ended up with a really cool thing that somebody contacted her. She didn't tell had lost a job and said, "Can you do this project for me? It's a photography project." And she said, "Yeah, we can do that." So right there was just proof to her. Okay, God's gonna see us through this. When Danis goes to become a pastor full-time of this church, the Lithuanian church only pays him about $15,000. So he goes from making a really good living to being really tight with a father, 2 children, and a wife. So consider them, consider how you can help them and how you can encourage them. They would actually accept gifts from the churches, other places. Another couple people who are actually ministering here that when Frank and Emily do end up leaving are going to end up being a little bit of a kind of pickle. The first one actually here, less so, she works for LKSB. It's basically the International Student Fellowship over there. And I met with her extensively and actually gave her some marriage counseling. So that was kind of cool. She's getting married for the first time and just wanted to talk to me because she didn't understand. Guys just think different. I said, yes, they do, honey. We have a lot to talk about. So that was a really cool experience too. And then Ina here, she's the music leader and director and the kind of the brainchild behind the college church service on Sunday night. That's her baby. She definitely wants to see that grow. She also has a podcast where she'll take Frank's sermons, translate them to Lithuanian, and then do a podcast on them and explain all about them. She's very much a translator for a lot of our Bible studies too. So she's a secretary as well. Another thing we can do, this is the rest of the kitchen. As you can see, there is a bag over a pipe in the middle of the floor. That's a gas line with no gas stove and a refrigerator plugged in around the wall because the plug right there doesn't work. This is a window that does in fact have plastic over it, and yes, it does get to be minus 20 degrees there. The church actually had a couch here because they hosted over 20 people in the basement of their church that were refugees from Ukraine. This building right here is actually going to be used this upcoming weekend in a conference for the Lithuanian Reformed Church. They actually are using this building to the most. Their dream is to actually have something here that would be what I would consider kind of like a mental health, rehab, counseling center. And so Emily's new idea is to make some sort of counseling center out of it, and they've been using this too. I think in my head, good golly, we've got plenty of handymen and contractors in our church that could probably whip that out in a week. Oh my word. So yeah, let's think about how we can actually do something about that. I know we gave a ton to this church. There is a money fund there. However, as I will show you, there's lots more to do. This is, of course, the sanctuary. Every single one of these windows is either broken, cracked, leaky, etc. That's why they meet downstairs in the basement. And so y'all know how much windows cost. That's probably going to get sunk mostly into just the windows. So we did get great information while we were there. There is awesome news that the outside of the church is actually going to be renovated by the government. So they're going to do the outside, leaving the church responsible for the inside. But again, with 20 some odd members, don't know how it's going to play exactly. And it is a beautiful, amazing place. The people, the culture. If you guys are interested in putting in some time with people that are genuinely interested to hear about Christ, and you think, oh, if I go on a mission trip somewhere like that, I don't know what to do. Oh, we'll find you a good, safe place, and we'll find you people to get connected with. And you can find people that speak English everywhere. And it's definitely one of those places that I don't know why we don't go. It's like a vacation. Quite frankly, every weekend there was people riding hot air balloons, and it's a gorgeous location, as you can see. So go. It's not a place to be afraid of. I know it's a location that kind of gives all of us the shiver goosebumps. We're just as safe there, I feel like, as we are going to Germany or Britain or Wales. And of course, you know that the Lord's got it in his hands. We'll be there. And that's it for me. I did want to tell you in addition to the pray, see how we can, be thinking about how you can do something about it. And going, they're looking for college students to go and, spend a semester or something at the colleges there, and working with the student ministries. If you feel like having a gap year, feel like having a semester abroad, it's a great place to do it. And it's also one of those that you could be really used in showing the love of the Lord by people that are right there in your age group if you're a college student. For the rest of you, they're looking for men to be pastors. They're looking for men to be leaders. They're looking for men to help with construction projects. A lot of it is men-based, of course, because it is reformed, right? And there's ministries for the women there. But of course, they look a little bit different. Most of the leadership you're looking for the men. So there's something just about for everybody. There's even kids camps in the summer. So of course, we always go and do Camp Joy and all these others are wonderful, wonderful things. They do something similar there. And so that's also something that would be really, really beneficial too. Just to be kind of thinking about it, if you're interested in it, contact me, contact Frank, Emily, either one, and happy to answer some more questions. I am going to take you over here because I brought some cool stuff. So I brought, these are the worship service from the different weeks that I was there. And you can see them in Lithuanian and the English service, both the two services. Some cool music in Lithuanian. Got a map of Kaunas, not Lithuania proper, but the city that I was in for the most part, and how that's laid out. And then we have, I just have a sweet note thanking you from Emily, which is really awesome. This thing here, I would like you guys actually to eat this and try it. I brought this back from Lithuania on the plane. I did. And it's good. Basically, it tastes like a vanilla wafer. They bake it on a spit. So they turn the spit and drizzle the dough over it, liquid, and then as it's slinging off, it makes all these fun little spikes on it. This is a very, very traditional Lithuanian dish. You don't go to a party or anything else without seeing one of these, and I wanted you guys to be able to try it. So basically, just take it down and break a chunk off of it, and that's how you eat this. And then the reason this is here is because this is yet another one of those baking things that Frank and Emily and I were doing a lot of. So it was zucchini bread. We were plentifully blessed. One of the traditions in Lithuania is if you go to someone's house, you bring them something. And since they're very good at growing things, they brought us a lot of zucchini. So we came up with a lot of ways to use zucchini, and this is one of those recipes. So I made that again for you guys. Baltic amber, that's something that Lithuania is known for. There's a piece of that up here. And linen, they're also very well known for making linen. This is also the Sugihara house. This is a little bit of information. Yes, that did sound weird. It's a Japanese name. He was actually in the Japanese council and was able to make way for about 2,000 to 4,000 Jews to get out of the country during the Holocaust, and they were rounding them up, and able to basically send them out through Japan and give them visas through Japan. He's lauded in Lithuania. So even though he's Japanese, it's a multicultural country. And I don't know if I can stress that enough about even the college group there that you saw. Multiple generations, multiple different countries. There's probably 20 people that show up every week. 15 or so different countries. It's very multicultural. And then another thing I brought is just some fun products with Lithuanian writing and stuff on them. So, yeah, come check it out. Get yourself pinched out a little bit later. And I'd love to be able to answer your questions if you have any. I'd really be honored to be able to just say thank you again too, because y'all made this possible. And I'd love to be able to go again. You're asking for my experience and what it felt like, and I definitely felt like it watered that seed in my heart for missions. Whether it be long-term, short-term, there's more. There's more. I left there going, not, okay, that's good, check box. No. I left there going, oh, there's so much more to do. There's so much more that can be done here. And options are almost endless. It's like, where do you start? and they asked if I wanted to speak. I was like, not this Wednesday, because I've got a lot to process between now and then. And it has taken a while to process, to figure out where exactly the Lord's leading in them, where exactly He's leading us in them, and where exactly that relationship is going to be. But I would love to see a relationship between the two churches. They feel like they're an island. They feel like they're a dying church in a dying little island. Kind of sort of the way we felt 20 years ago, you know? When we think, oh, we're looking at the end of the ARP campaign, we're just saying, membership, and look how it's grown and developed because a little bit of love and energy and wonderful people and people actually reaching out with the truth, right? And so they're looking for the same kind of revitalization, and I can see it very, very capable of happening. Just in the community that's interested in the gospel, and in a community that is multicultural as well. You are truly reaching the nations just by showing up to the one building in a country that you probably never heard of before that. And so it is definitely a place to keep in prayers. Yes, Ashley.
Would you make us a prayer list of some of the names of the people that you mentioned and the projects that
Absolutely.
we could be praying for, and we can.
Absolutely. Miss Ashley asked if I would make a prayer list of the people that they could be praying for and some of the projects, and absolutely, happily. Yeah. I'll be a little more specific on that.
Good.
So, in fact, I will leave a piece of paper here, and if you want me to email you that, we can do that. Anybody else?
Steph, I didn't see any pictures of babies or children. Does Frank have a ministry for the very young kids?
Yes, so that children's service that he did is probably about the youngest ones that are there. They don't send them up if they're real infant. Let's see if we can go back here for you. Keep going. I'll speak. So if I, but yes, he does. There's a couple. I'm sorry, I don't have a computer. We're just gonna go back this way. Here it is. Too far. Too far. There they are. There they are. So if your baby's in arms, they don't generally bring them up there. But that's the most children that we saw in that church, and that was because of baptism. So all the families brought their other kids too to the baptism. I normally saw about 3 kids in the church. They're there, and he spends the time with them on purpose because he recognizes they're one of the only churches that's going to do that. They always get that comment, apparently. They're used to, again, Catholic background, ignore, quiet in the back. And because he actually says, no, come on down here, sit them here, I'm going to do something specifically for them, they get excited about that. And they do actually make comments about that. I heard that several times. So yeah, there's definitely children's ministry. I was asked to take over a couple things. Thankfully, we got some wonderful people that made that happen. And so I took over some stuff for Dana's and Rita's teenagers that are about to join the church, as well as any friends they may have that want to do it. It's basically what we did for VBSs, things like that. You got 2 or 3 extras, and some of them there, you know. So yeah, they do have it, but it's limited because they don't have many. But then again, a group of about that many kids in 30, 35 people, it's actually no problem.
Stephanie, can you explain the demographics around the church as far as the number of folks in the area specific that you're looking at as far as within the framework of the town you're in?
Yeah, so you're talking about like the city itself? Yeah. So Kaunas is a very large city, but it's centralized with a center section there on the river. And it's very highly densely populated, but they are also considered a conservative, is what they call themselves. So there's not a lot of the crime that you would expect for a big city. They run off any of what they consider problem people. Unfortunately, that does expand past some things that are preconceived notions about people, which I wasn't a big fan of. They can be picky. They can be a little bit racist on things. But that is their, I don't want want to say culture, but that's definitely the city's culture of Kaunas. They feel like if they keep themselves safe by keeping out everybody that might be a little bit different, then we'll be okay, kind of mentality. Now, mind you, they think very differently than we do. They've been occupied for 200 years, whether by German, by Russian, or both at the same time. You can't really make friends, you can't really trust other people, you can't really trust people that might get you in trouble if you're seen talking to them and then they end up getting called in. Well, you were helping them, so you get, dragged off too. So they're used to that kind of mentality. I still feel like as a city though, it's unbelievably safe compared to a city of its equivalent size in the United States. I had no problem walking around at 10 o'clock at night, walking some of these college kids home. I wouldn't do that in Atlanta, but it is a very, very highly populated. The streets, they do have a lot of public transportation, excellent public transportation, bus. They also have streets that are just walking only, and they have a lot of, what I would consider to be things like shops. So if you needed something, there's a hardware store and kind of what looks like a mix between a Walmart and an Ace Hardware if they had a baby, And some of the options had more options than ours. I was dumbfounded. I was looking at their sinks and I'm going, I could get a round inset black sink. Ooh. Try to find that here, so just random things that you could find there. That maybe not even necessarily here. So they did have options, they did have shops, they did have groceries. Most everybody in this central section where I stayed for the most part, they're at the heart of the city. It's called City Center. There's a castle just past that would have been there from the 1300s. That was that on that first slide. And that would have been basically gateway into the city on the convergence of two rivers. Kaunas is mashed in between those two rivers. And so it has developed a lot. So you've got a brand new building smashed right next to a building from the Soviet era, smashed right next to a building that looks like it's something out of the Victorian times. So it's kind of a little bit of everything. And the college students there make up a little bit of everything on the culture too. Does that kind of answer your question? Anybody else? Okay. Well, with that, I should probably let you get going and let you head to choir. But thank you guys so much. And definitely just keep it in mind, keep praying, and thank you for sending me. Again, I was delighted to be a part of this, and I know that there's more in our future, for sure. So,